Chapter 1. You are listening at FameTV.info. June 12, 2022 FRZZNDTH Kachidoki, Chūgaku, Tokyo, a location which still has a downtown feel, on this reclaimed island, which is within busing distance of Tokyo Beauty High, which itself resides on a man-made floating island, is the apartment where Akari Mamiya, a first-year student in the assault department, lives in a room of Heights Kachidoki, where the rent is as cheap as if the apartment has a spooky history. The morning light trickling through the window tickles Akari's face, waking her up. Akari sat up on her bed, wrapped in a pair of card-print pajamas, her infantile body measuring only 139 centimeters despite being in the first year of high school. She was still half asleep, her eyes, which were half closed like a dog dozing off, widened as she looked at the picture on the wall. The picture was a self-made poster made from photos, taken without permission with a cell phone, printed on A3 sheets of paper section by section using a printing machine at a convenience store and taped together. There, the massive photo showed an interesting girl, who had pink blonde twin tail hair, a white and rouge-colored Tokyo Beauty High sailor uniform, and two large handguns, one in each hand. The name of the girl in the photo is Aria H. Kanzaki. She is a second-year student in the assault division at Tokyo Beauty High, which means she is 1 year ahead of Akari. I have a goal. I am going to be like Aria. Senpai. As Akari looks up to the photo with admiration, Akari's expression was elated. Aria. Senpai. With a disheveled look on her face and hair, Surisuri, Akari starts to rub her cheek on Aria's cheek in the photo. What she is doing or why, not even Akari is sure, but, in any case, she had an internal longing that made her do it. It is a wonderful day today. Since this is an older photograph, Akari knows that it is not a new image from today or yesterday, but in Akari's brain, the illusion of Aria is still a fresh one. This is another thing that others do not quite understand about Akari, but this is just another of Akari's form of excessive longing but playing with such illusions. The harsh reality of a clock shatters her illusion. The time is 8:00 UGA. Akari screams in a way that flowery high school girls normal shouldn't, and jumps at the blouse and skirt of her sailor suit that is hung on the wall with a hanger, using both her hands and toes to grab them. Akari's rule of thumb is that if she doesn't leave home by 8:05, she will be late to Beauty High. Akari, who managed to instantly change out of her pajamas by using her hands for her blouse and her toes for her lower body, a trick that is quite difficult for her to show others, runs out of the room half ready to leave. And then, Nanoka. Why didn't you wake me up? Without even a good morning greeting, Akari shifts the blame for her oversleeping on her younger sister, Nanoka Mamiya. Meanwhile, Nanoka has already changed into the blazer uniform of her general junior high school. She was in front of the mirror table in the living room, brushing her shoulder-length black hair. I was trying to wake you up, but then you kicked me. And then Nanoka turned around and Akabade me. On her face was a tiny red footprint, which seemed to be a mark left by a still sleeping Akari kicking it. Sorry. When her inadequate but remorseful sister apologized for her tardiness, Nanoka forgave her and said, well, I can't help it. Akari was allowed to use the mirror from off to the side and fix her naturally brown hair, which was tied into a short twin tail. Then she shoved her necessary school items into her school bag with haste. My mobile phone is, yes, it was in the living room charging. Thank you. Again, with the help of Nanoka, Akari tries to leave the house. You have to wear your bulletproof uniform properly. Nanoka quickly adjusted the hem of Akari's uniform, which was a bit disheveled. A bulletproof uniform. It is the official uniform of the Tokyo Beauty High, with a fiber called TNK sewn into the fabric. TNK has a repellent structure on a microscopic level that disperses the impact of anything impacting it, even with a high velocity. Something that is expected to impact this uniform is, naturally, bullets. In Japan, where gun control regulations are currently struggling, the U.S. Republican Party is planning to expand the firearms industry into a new Japanese market, so the Japanese government in recent years has lifted all firearm bans. with the result being handguns and rifles spreading intensely among the population. The clothes of a beauty eye student, which could be expected to have a muzzle pointed at it daily, is designed to look like a school uniform at a glance while also being bulletproof. As Akari was fixing the tie of her sailor uniform, the tie itself also being bulletproof, you also forgot your gun. An exasperated Nanoka flipped up Akari's skirt and inserted a small machine gun into a leg holster strapped around her thigh. The gun was a micro.uzi.it is a compact variant of the masterpiece gun developed by the former Israeli company IMI. The UZI is a highly durable submachine gun that can use common handgun ammunition, and can disperse as many as 25 rounds in about 1 second. All students at Tokyo Beauty Eye High are required to be equipped with firearms and swords, and Akari chose this as her gun. She chose it because it is a best-selling gun with more than 10 million guns in circulation, and the body and parts for it are inexpensive. She also chose it because she was easily seduced by the sales pitch of a beautiful gunsmith who said, "If you shoot a lot you are guaranteed a few hits at least." It was chosen for such an amateurish reason. That is everything, right? Then let's leave. Be careful of suspicious strangers, cars, and pickpockets. Akari is playing the role of the bigger sister, making sure that she remembers her sisterly duties, and, Gabu, she bit into a loaf of bread that had popped out of the toaster and left the apartment with the bread in her mouth. Currently, Japan has introduced a special international qualification in response to increasingly violent crimes. Beauty Eye, aka Detective Armed, is a detective who is authorized to be armed and are a jack of all trades willing to take on any job, regardless of danger. 4A. Tokyo Beauty Eye High is a comprehensive educational institution for the training of these armed detectives, which was located on a man-made floating island 2 kilometers north to south and 500 m east to west, south of the Rainbow Bridge. In addition to a general high school education, students walk around armed with firearms and swords as per the school rules, a normal thing for students there. Aside from general education, students can take specialized courses related to investigations, forensics, combat with armed criminals, and so on. At the school gate where these students were coming and going, Akari was out of breath as she got off the bus. Just in time, Akari, who was saved from being late thanks to Nanoka, walked through the school gate while feeling groggy. In a corner of the general school district, there is some commotion going on. I am telling you, I just want to use the restroom. TL note. Part of this is in Chinese. Don't ignore my human rights. TL note. Some of this is in Chinese as well. I could hear a short scream of a female student mixed in with the violent yells of Chinese. Looking through the gathered students, it appeared that the criminals who had been transported by the Logi department's convoy were on a rampage. They were a group of 5 men of Chinese descent, with snakes tattooed on their arms. Apparently, the language barrier was the beginning of the trouble. The Logi department students are getting beat up. The gang, even when handcuffed, grabbed and kicked the Logi students who were only specialized in driving and operating vehicles, ships, and airplanes. I have to help, but the gang was made up of a bunch of ruffians who appeared to be Chinese mafia members. Onlookers, Akari included, were dismayed by this and then, bad losers. TL note. This is English in the original. A sharp, high-pitched voice echoes from right next to Akari. The voice belonged to a foreign student from England, a second-year student in the assault course at Tokyo Beauty Eye High with her trademark long, pink blonde twin-tail hair. It was Kanzaki H. Aria. Akari's heart skips a beat at the appearance of the girl of her dreams. Aria is a celebrity who is well known to the onlooking students, who repeatedly call her by her name. Aria, it's Aria, a name that they all say at least once. The hostility of the criminals and the expectations of the people around her all at once changed. It seems no one knew what to do, and so Aria stepped forward with pride. However, her physique is as small as Akari's. She is a miniature high school girl who could be described as an upper-year elementary school student at most. Who is this little kid? TL note. Partially in Chinese. The buff criminals crowd around Aria, looking down on her. Literally, the difference in size between them and Aria is obvious to everyone. This is indeed a dangerous situation when Akari was suddenly surprised to hear a loud pa-en sound. Yua. TL note. For some reason, this was written in Chinese. One of the criminals screamed. Aria's palm strike struck with the strength of an explosion into the jaw of the man who had made the first move against her. Aria, who had taken the now wobbly man's arm, with a Zisha did a technique similar to an Aikido four-way throw and threw the criminal onto the ground. The rest of the men rushed her to attack. Baki. Goki. Gago. Aria's fist drove into the ground, making a sound as if her fist was itself a hammer, as the three men fall down with a thud as if this was a scene from a superhero movie. You brat. And the last one who was standing is now swinging his hands down from behind Aria to silence her. Watch out. Akari tried to warn her, but, the blow, like an axe about to strike wood, never hit. Just before it hit, Aria had gotten behind the attacker and slammed a dexterous toe kick into the back of the enemy's knee after Aria leaped with both feet off the neck of her opponent, who is now in mid-fall. Then, wham. The impact of the leap left the enemy's neck out of its range of motion. TL note. The guy's neck is not broken as in dead, think of it as he probably needs a neck brace. Without a scream, the fifth offender passed out, his eyes white. As soon as Aria returned to the ground, she turned towards the heap of four men. You should know when to give up. TL note. This is in English. Aria, who showed her slightly over the top dramatic side, says this in the Queen's own English with a beautiful pronunciation. I don't know how long she had been standing there, but a senior in the snipe department, Reki. Senpai, who was carrying an early model Dragunov sniper rifle with a wooden stock, was standing by Aria's side. She did not seem to be out on duty but seemed prepared for any eventuality. Although not as famous as Aria, this senior, Reki, is also a well-known student at Beauty Eye High. As a snipe prodigy, she is also a robot-like eccentric who shows no emotion such as joy, anger, sorrow, or pleasure. Humph. Aria, while overlooking the criminals, lets out a short snort. Her hair, as well as her breathing, is not disturbed at all. Kenzaki.san. Finally, groups of freshmen from the assault department arrived armed with guns. The students from Repair arrived as well. Aria turned on her heels and, they were just a gang of petty thieves. Hand them over to Dagula and let Repair investigate the scene. They must still have friends out there. She gave them orders in a snappy manner. The way she gave orders to those around her was as she walks, was as if she was a famous career woman in a foreign TV drama. You go back to snipe and get ready for the next mission. Aria leaves the scene in a mood as if she is pursuing a big case while also giving instructions to her classmate Reki. Aria's back was turned to Akari, Aria.senpai. Akari looks towards Aria with a twinkle and star in her eyes, an elite member of the assault department and an expert in pistols and hand-to-hand combat fighting techniques, as well as a British aristocrat. She has been an active beauty eye for the London Detective Agency since the age of 14 in various parts of Europe before coming to Japan to study. Her arrest rate for cases she has worked on is 99%. She even has a second name, feared by criminals, Aria the Quadra. Although I know so much personal information about Aria, I have never spoken to her. She is simply too far from me. This is the relationship between Aria and Akari as of right now. The classroom of Class 1A was abuzz with talk of the incident with Aria from earlier until morning homeroom begins. It is the only thing people are talking about. Aria's awe-inspiring strength. Akari is not talking about it herself, but she is snickering while listening to it. I was sitting in my seat, impatiently working with my mechanical pencil. On a 0.4 sized application form, I wrote, Kenzaki H. Aria, in the space provided. That I was very happy and smiling, even though I was just writing her name down. Bah. Someone surprised me and took the paper from me from behind. That in addition, I was being held from behind and forced to stand up from my seat. Wah. Only you can play pranks like this. It was Rika Hina, who was reading manga earlier in the seat next to me on my left. Rika is a first-year student in the same assault department as me and is half American and half Japanese. She is a slender girl, and tall at 165 centimeters with blonde hair tied in a ponytail and deep, courageous jade green eyes. Rika's right hand passed under Akari's armpit, and touched Akari's flat chest. Wah, what are you doing? You pervert. Akari tries to fight off her hand, but she is no match for Rika, who is physically stronger than Akari. Then Rika looked at the paper she took from Akari earlier. I was filling out the amica, also known as War Sisters, form. TL note. I will swap between using amica and War Sister, depending on which sounds better given the situation. Note though that they are the same thing. Akari. Are you trying to make an amica contract with Aria? Senpai. Akari does not answer the surprised Rika, and puffs out her cheeks. Amica. Another student sitting right next to Akari turns to face her. It was Akari's friend, Shino Sasaki, a Yamato Nadeshiko type girl with black hair that stretches to her waist and shins, who belongs to the Inquesta department. The amica system was the two-man special training system. Shino asked Akari as if something was bugging her about Akari having that application form. Yes, the one where you spend a year under the direct supervision of a senpai and receive training from them. Rika says in her usual masculine way of speaking while looking at Shino. The War Sisters, as Rika and Shino had said, is a system in which a senior and a junior work together as if they were siblings. Usually, an underclassman submits an application to an upperclassman through masters, saying, I want to be your apprentice, and the upperclassman tests the underclassman. Should the underclassman pass the test, then the application is accepted, otherwise the application is rejected. If the two students are boys they are called War Brothers, and if they are girls, they are called War Sisters. TL note. Nothing is said about a boy and girl. War siblings maybe. This is a system that benefits both upperclassmen and the underclassmen. When they become War Sisters/brothers, juniors can help their seniors with their work without compensation, and juniors can learn skills from seniors. However, the work of beauty eye, which often involves activities equivalent to police work, is often rough. There is even the risk of losing your life if you happen to pick a poor junior as your War Sister. Therefore, it is customary for the senior to carefully select their junior. This is especially true when it comes to a competent beauty eye like Aria, who has a much higher level of danger involved with them than other beauty eye. Rika, apparently aware of this, gave a slight scolding look to Arkai, who she still had in her grasp. Do you know Aria? Senpai's rank? She is an S, above even an A. 20 people in a row who applied to be her amica were rejected. The rank that Rika is referring to is one's beauty eye rank, the ranks of a beauty eye, which is decided upon by the International Armed Detective Lethal Federation according to the individual's overall abilities such as combat and investigative skills, are mainly divided into 6 levels, which from top to bottom are S, A, B, C, D, E. This rank represents the ability of the individual beauty eye. The rank of a beauty eye also determines the approximate cost for hiring them, and the rank that Aria belongs to, S, is the highest rank for a beauty eye. Even when including the adult beauty eye, there are only a few dozen of them in Japan, making them the elite of the elite. Meanwhile, Akari's rank is, there is no way a ranked beauty eye like you would be partnered with Aria. Senpai. As Rika said, her rank is the lowest. Akari. You are just not suitable for her, that is all. Not only Rika, but even Shino, who is usually so kind to me, is having a negative opinion of me right now. Isolated in her dreams, Akari puffed her cheeks out as much as she could, like a pufferfish. You don't know that until I try. Try it after you get a little stronger. Horhor. TL note. Horhor is a sound effect, read next line for it to make sense. Perhaps thinking that Akari's sulking was cute, Rika held the application form high above Akari's head and waved it in a fluttering motion. Teasing Akari in this way is an annoying hobby of Rika's. Ka.e.se. TL note. Without the spacing translates to something like, give it back. Original had spacing between each hiragana so I kept it. Sounds cuter in Japanese so I kept it Japanese. Despite her best efforts, Akari's hand cannot reach the paper at the end of Rika's long arm and hand. That I wonder if situations like this raised Rika's S.rank spirit even higher. Okay then, I will personally train you in the art of Taiho Jutsu. TL note. Taiho Jutsu is a form of martial arts developed by Japan's feudal police to arrest criminals who are armed. It has even been introduced to the US due to its effectiveness. With a thud, Rika lightly pushed Akari down onto her desk. Even though she is a freshman, Rika is a student in the assault department, which specializes in the armed non-lethal suppression of criminals. She makes Akari sit on her desk in such as a way that she cannot move. Just before she is joint locked there, Akari, Tsu. She moved, quickly, and then, Jiren, at the next moment she acted as if she was turning over. Akari had disappeared from Rika, who was now muttering in confusion along with the application from that Rika had previously had. Although it was only for a fleeting moment her friends could not see her as Akari was, she was bent close to the floor, far out of reach of the taller Rika. Akari hugged the application form for the War Sisters contract while Rika looked at her strangely. As Akari looked at the confused Rika, she did an akanbi, sticking out her childish tongue. TL note. Akanbi is when you pull down your eyelid and stick out your tongue at someone. Just Google the term if you still do not know what it is. In addition to regular general courses, like math and science, students can take specialized courses related to the activities of a beauty eye at a beauty eye affiliated school. There are various specialized departments, such as the detective department in Questa, the forensics department Rapire, the equipment department Amdo, the communications department Connect, and the rescue department Ambulus, each of which had its own school building. At one of these, the assault wing for the assault department, Akari was attending a target practice class at the indoor shooting range on the basement level floor of the building. Stupid Rika. Akari, wearing fingerless gloves, was staring at a human-shaped target. Anyone can apply if they want to. As if to vent my frustration with Rika from this morning, I shoot the micro Uzi in full auto mode. Bararara. The entire magazine was emptied with bullets scattering everywhere all at once. The barrel is shaking and few if any of the bullet hit the target at all. The micro Uzi is a short machine gun with low accuracy as it instead relies on its high rate of fire. Akari, who weighs only 33 kilograms, can only hope for a lucky shot, as even a giant shooting from a fixed point with locked hips would have barely any chance at all. But, right now, I do not care about any of this. Korra. Go-Chin and Ranbu. Sensei of the assault department just dropped a fist right into Akari's head. Concentrate. Don't let the recoil of a mere 9mm round shake your hand. The daughter of the head of the Hong Kong Mafia, this wild and demanding female teacher in a tank top, jeans, and a sword on her back is, you didn't hit the target at all. With a raised eyebrow, she points to the target Akari was shooting at, just as Ranbu said as she scolded Akari. Not a single one of Akari's bullets hit the target. Akaya, unlike police officers and self-defense officers, beauty eye are, in principle, free to use guns when they see fit. Considering this fact, typically the micro Uzi is not a wise choice to have as a partner to entrust one's life to. However, Akari for one reason or another is not just a bad shot, she is a child who cannot seem to shoot straight at all. Therefore, it made sense for her to take the tactic of, if I shoot a lot some will hit for sure. Look at that. Ranbu indicates a different lane with her thumb pointing over her shoulder. The lane she is pointing to is, it is Aria. Senpai. The shooting lane is occupied by Aria, who took the time out of her busy day to continue her training. In her hand she holds two pistols, one pearl white and the other jet black. The two guns are modified M1911A 1.45 governments that are capable of full automatic fire. Babababa. Babababa. The shooting sounds coming from both large pistols is continuous without break. The bullets were all hitting the highest scoring sight, the gun that the humanoid target was holding. The law imposes strict restrictions on the actions of a beauty eye, the most important of which is Article 9 of the Armed Detective Act. This specific rule is that beauty eye must not, under any circumstance, kill anyone in the course of their beauty eye activities. This means that even if the criminal is armed, the beauty eye may not use lethal force on them. At first glance this law may seem unreasonable, but it is a clear indication of Japan's national character, which imposes strict responsibilities on publicly armed persons. However, shooting the target's hands or feet is allowed and would still score points in training, but Aria avoided even that, shooting only the gun with pinpoint accuracy. Her skills are a world apart from Akari, who cannot even hit the target to begin with. She is doing all that with a .45 ACP that is more powerful than the 9mm. bullet of my micro Uzi, and shooting 2 guns at once. Akari is so impressed that she forgets her own inadequacies and, I can't help but stare at Aria with a twinkle in my eye. Her dignified reddish-purple camellia eyes were aiming at the target. The shooting posture is so perfect that I want to use it as a photo for a textbook, and, like Akari, Aria has a petite build and a petite breast size. She has an elementary school girl's body like me, but she is so amazing. While thinking fairly rude thoughts in her mind, Akari was still maintaining Aria's presence on her mind and in her heart. Even though she is small, Aria is strong. That is why, I am sure I can be strong, too, that I want to be strong. I must become strong, if I become strong enough. A memory of the past comes back to Akari's mind that in a burning city, Akari was, crying, the memory of the ruin, where she was defeated because of her weakness and could do nothing but cry. I don't want to ever feel like that again. On her way home in the evening, Akari left the school building with a shabby look on her face that in her hands was a printout of her medium firing range training results. Akari's placement was 144 out of 144. She got the lowest rank out of all assault students in today's training. If this had been an actual shootout, Akari would probably be dead and in a body bag right now. On either side of Akari, who were walking home with her, were Rika and Shino. Holding a bag designed for beauty high in front of her body, was a young lady. Maybe, you should quit the assault department. She says that from beside Akari, albeit reluctantly. Formally, Shino would speak kindly to me, but ever since she found out that I was going to apply for a war sister contract with Aria, she has been a bit cold towards me. Akari shakes her head at Shino. I won't quit. I want to be in the same department, assault, as Aria. Senpai, and I want to sign a contract with her to become her amica. If you want, I can teach you close quarters combat to help you with your melee combat. Rika points the tip of her half-eaten American corn dog at Akari's chest like a gun. You are going to touch somewhere weird with your hands again, aren't you? Akari, though inwardly Rika is an idiot and naughty, and I don't like you. I turned my head to the side with puffed-out cheeks as if I was in a bad mood and taking it out on Rika. Rika, who had her assistance refused, showed a more shocked expression than Akari expected. Rika, who seemed to want to be kind to Akari as Shino was being cold, got angry at Akari's reaction. You are the one who is stupid. Aria is at the top of the assault department and you are at the bottom. You don't even have the opportunity to talk to her, never mind team up. Rika had begun talking as if she had become Akari's enemy, ran towards a cherry tree on the school property. That is right, Akari. There is a certain aptitude and talent people need to have to be her amica. Holding up her index finger, Shino also is admonishing me. Akari looks down at the printout of the shooting training results again. Placement 144 out of 144 people. As both have said, I have no talent, this is the reality, but I want to be like Aria. That is Akari's dream. A dream that is ceremoniously praised by Akari and irresponsibly encouraged by the public. There is still the headwinds of reality. To get there, the headwinds blowing against Akari's face are so fierce that she feels unable to even move forward on her own. Moreover, the path she should take to achieve this dream, the path of the beauty eye, is a dangerous one. Unlike many other dreams, one wrong step really could end up with you dead. Seeing Akari trying to force her way down that road, her friends tell her to turn back. They are not saying it to tease her. They are saying it because they are her friends. But, however, Akari must go that way. She is weak now, but she can be reborn strong. She must do all of this, for some sad and complicated reason. If only someone could push my back. If only someone could put their hand out for me to grab. We maybe be able to go down that road together. With this in mind, Akari entered this school. And then she found that someone. The someone that she found was a petite girl like herself, but stronger and more righteous than anyone. Aria, senpai. Akari's hand tightens involuntarily and she clutches the training results. This dream that people around me had decided were unattainable. I want to be strong like Aria. Senpai. But will the chance even be given to me? Poro. Her despair overflows as tears from Akari's eyes. Akari had finally started crying. As if she had read that thought. As if to refute Rika's words from earlier. I believe that everyone should be given equal opportunities. Her voice came down, lovely and dignified, like the voice of a goddess, descending from the heavens. Akari, who had always admired her, immediately recognized whose voice it was. Akari, Rika, and Shino look up. The person standing on the branch of a large cherry tree near the school gate on the second ground at Aria, Kanzaki H. Aria was looking down at Akari, standing from above with pride. Akari and the others all widen their eyes and have lost their voice in surprise. Rika, who was angry earlier, also drops her remaining half-eaten corn dog amidst the dancing pink petals of the cherry blossoms. Being a beauty is being in the midst of a constant battlefield. If I had been the enemy you would have a hole in your head right now. And as Aria said so, Bishi, she pointed her index finger at Akari, her imposing appearance is so cool. Akari was about to cry for a different reason than before, but the person she admired was also a very demanding person. She was not a goddess who just gave. She points to Akari with a strong hand, as if to say, come and get it, Jackin. Aria pulled out 2 pistols, one black and one white, and showed them to the audience, and, Akari Mamiya. She spoke to Akari, who is thrilled to hear her name spoken by Aria for the first time ever. You can challenge me for the right to be my war sister. She would tell this to Akari against a backdrop of a cherry blossom snowstorm that had fluttered along with a gust of wind. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.